Topic number 2. April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month. This is not a question, it's just a general topic
It's just
discussion.
like a general topic. Yeah.
So what about Sexual Assault Awareness Month? Like, just our thoughts on it?
Yes, I would say so. Just general discussion. Yeah.
Probably, I guess there is enough awareness, and probably we should move more towards
And I would,
concrete steps.
I think I would disagree with that there's enough awareness of it, because if there was, we wouldn't have movements like the Me Too movement and the Time's Up movement, and we wouldn't have men who say that women get sexually assaulted because they wore a short skirt, or we wouldn't have girls getting kicked out of schools because their clothing is too distracting and revealing for boys. So I wouldn't say that we have enough awareness of it. I would say that we're getting to the point where people are becoming more aware of it, but still more work needs to be done.
Yeah.
Because we have to be teaching our boys, and we have to also be teaching our girls, and it's not just boys, and I don't want to single men out, that body autonomy is important. It's not okay for me as a woman to go ogle a man, because that man's body is not mine. It's his, and it's
literally what all men are waiting for.
What?
It's literally what all men are waiting for.
And that's my husband and his opinion on it. But like, we have to be teaching our boys as well as our girls that every person's body is their own, and they're not for our enjoyment.
Yeah.
We have to be teaching our boys and girls that if somebody says no, no means no. It doesn't mean continue on asking in hopes that somebody will change their mind. It literally means no.
And also, a yes doesn't always mean a yes.
And yeah, if a girl says yes, she still has the ability to change her mind and say no. It doesn't matter what part you're at. If ever somebody becomes uncomfortable, you should never be afraid to say, this makes me uncomfortable, and I changed my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Other than afterwards, like not in retrospect.
Right. Like,
Yeah.
Also, I've said this before, if you are drunk,
Right.
and a woman is drunk, it's not okay for a woman to turn around after she had one drunken night of sex and say, that guy raped me because I was drunk. Because chances are, if you were too drunk to say yes, so was he. So that's not a free-for-all for a woman to say, I'm going to charge you with rape now. Or just because you have buyer's remorse doesn't give you the right to ruin somebody's life, because heaven forbid you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's true. It's, like, yeah, definitely. I also think we need to have, like, a general discussion, like, about, like, how should I phrase that? Like, about what counts as sexual assault. Because, like, many things could be counted as sexual assault, but we don't think of them as sexual assault.
Right. Or, I've said this before too, just because somebody, just because somebody said something happened doesn't necessarily mean it happened the way that they're saying it happened. And that's not necessarily accusing them of lying, but questioning something is also, how did I put it? Just because you question something, you're not automatically calling somebody a liar.
Right.
Exactly.
And it's okay to question if the facts add up or not. It's okay to not automatically agree that something was sexual assault if it wasn't.
The biggest question though is that how does one decide what was an assault and what was just a banter?
Let's take, for example, a few months after Justin Trudeau got voted in office, they had a vote on floor about something. Somebody was blocking somebody else from crossing the floor and making their vote, so Justin walked over to them and tried to pull the guy through so he could pass and make the vote, and he accidentally elbowed a woman in the breast area. She then accused him of sexually assaulting her. To me, that is not a sexual assault. It wasn't intentional. He didn't grab her or anything. It was literally he swiped past her. So that for me, I wouldn't consider that a sexual assault. I don't know if any of you would say that is, but for me, I wouldn't say that it is. There were a month or so ago back, there was an article that came out about Steven Seagal and how he sexually assaulted some woman 20-something years ago. I read the article and I didn't agree with them that it was sexual assault because it was basically he grabbed her by the shoulders, the one of them, and started massaging her, and she then 20 years later is saying, well, he sexually assaulted me by massaging my shoulders. I mean, could it be sexual assault? Yeah, it could, but in the way that she was saying what happened, I highly doubt it. I think that she realized he was a married man and it was probably inappropriate, and then the whole Me Too movement happened and people are getting carried away with it.
So do you think with this movement, it's taking away from the genuine things
I
that
do.
casting doubt?
As a sexual assault victim, I'm very leery to just believe every single accusation because of the fact that genuinely 9 times out of 10 a woman will report her sexual assault as it happens. 9 times out of 10. I'm not saying every situation, but I certainly don't think that the majority of victims are going to wait 20 to 30 years before accusing somebody. And in Hollywood especially, it's a money thing more than a... I'm going to get myself in the hot water again. Steven Seagal is not wrong when he says 40% of people who accuse somebody of sexual assaults in Hollywood are just doing it for the money. He's not wrong.
I agree.
Because there are a lot of people who will try and ruin somebody because they have a lot of money. And for me, that's not okay. You can't just ruin... I think that if somebody falsely accuses somebody, because that person can never come back from that accusation. It doesn't matter if it was true or not. They're not going to have the same respect in their
Right.
job.
Once it's been insinuated and it's in the air.
It's
Right.
always there.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you
It
can
doesn't go
never.
away.
It'll never go away. At least for those who remember it. Like
Michael
if it
Jackson
like
is
maybe 40 years later, the new generation who doesn't know, they can see the person in a different light. But as soon as you know that something sometimes maybe
Michael
happened,
Jackson is a prime example of that. A few different people accused him of molesting their children, and it came out after he was dead that they lied for money. And by then it was too late. The damage had already been done. He died being called a pedophile. He died being called a weirdo. To me that's a sin. Because so many people who actually hung out with him, like Macaulay Culkin, stuck up for him and said, no, this never happened. And I would tend to believe Macaulay Culkin over anybody because he spent a lot of time with him. You're on mute, by the way. But no, I can't hear you.
what?
But the problem is he was already dead. And they admitted they did it for the money. So it's harder to believe somebody who is unknown that's making that accusation against somebody who is well known. Corey Haim, I would definitely believe him that he was sexually assaulted as a child because he has a drug problem. Drug problems don't just happen because for no reason.
Yeah, that's true.
You get drug problems because of trauma in your life. So when people say in Hollywood, this is essentially for money, they're not lying. Are they all that way? No, they're not all that way. But you have to pretty much think where it's coming from. If the other person has lots of money, I'm going to tend to believe that person with lots of money because they don't have anything to lose. And they don't have anything to gain. But if it's some unknown person who's making this accusation against somebody with money, you really have to think, are they just doing this because they want to get rich? Or are they doing this because it actually happened?
Right.
So
So
that's the
we can
biggest
hear you
problem
again.
I have with the Me Too movement.
what do you have to gain from telling this?
More than that, these are the women who have the access probably to police authorities, to legal recourse, but the real people who are vulnerable.
There are people who have accused Harvey Weinstein of sexual assault who are not rich. They're fairly unknown people, but it's been long known for a long time that Harvey Weinstein is a predator for at least 30 years. Now, there was another article where Marlon Brando was accused of sexually assaulting another person on a movie, and it was set up like a rape scene, and the director wanted it to look authentic, so he didn't tell the girl. Is that Marlon Brando's fault? I don't think it is, and I think it's horrible that somebody would accuse somebody who is dead already of sexually assaulting somebody and knowing it, because he can't defend himself. He can't say yes or no whether he knew or not. And It's not a far stretch to believe, me being somebody who has a husband in this industry, that Marlon Brando probably didn't know what the director's intent was, because you tend to get all the same script.
Yeah, like everyone's getting the same script. It's not like...
So it's not like from what I know of Marlon Brando, I can't even see him saying, yes, I'll agree to that if the other party didn't know, because of his work with Standing Rock and, or not Standing Rock, Wounded Knee, and
Yeah.
his work for women's rights in Hollywood. Like, I can't even see that that's something that he would even agree to. So
Okay.
you really have to question the validity of the argument that the people are making. And it doesn't take away from if they were victims, but it gives them accountability that when people are questioning it, they have to be accountable for the lie. And I think that if somebody lies against somebody, they should be punished just as hard as the rapist would be.
Right.
Like, if you lie about
Even
your
harder,
age,
maybe.
there...
Because,
Go ahead.
like, yeah, so these women who may or may not have experienced something and they come out on Twitter, and all the focus is taken away from the real women who are suffering this, and they don't even have the access to maybe report it or to highlight what is really going on.
I think that men aren't taken as seriously as women are when it comes to them saying, I was sexually assaulted, because as a man, they're seen as like the stronger sex and
Right. So
the more perverse
more
sex, and
harder to believe in a way that, yeah. Exactly.
they're the stronger of the two sexes, so how could they be
Right.
sexually assaulted? I think that if somebody lies about their age, that should be considered sexually assaulting somebody too.
Yep.
If you lie and say, I'm 21 or I'm 18 and you're only 14, you should be held just as accountable as a rapist would be.
The other way around. Yeah.
Yeah, because
you're essentially
yeah.
raping somebody by lying to them and saying, I'm of legal age. Because they don't have all the information. They don't have all the information to be able to consent properly.
Yeah,
You
that's
can't
true, but
you can't just hold somebody accountable because they believed your lie.
Right.
yeah, that's
So again,
true.
the problem with the legal system is then it's that person's word against the another person. So that person could very well say that I never lied to be of whatever the minimum age is. So I guess that's the biggest challenge.
Right, and then you have these women who are going on to rock stars' buses, and you're not going on a rock star's bus to hang out and be friends. You obviously have ulterior motives, and it's kind of like a trophy if you get a rock star or a movie star to sleep with you. It's like having something under your belt, right? Like, but these are people too, and they deserve just as much respect as somebody who isn't in a famous position. So if if your parent finds out and charges them with statutory rape because you were not 18, I think that's just as devastating as somebody who was not asking for it, so to speak.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think they've lost a lot too, and I don't think that that's okay. I think there are so many aspects to Me Too to begin with. Like, I got into a fight with somebody at the very beginning of Me Too that was saying that men should not be included in the movement. Well, Me Too is to bring awareness to like sexual assault victims. So if you're not including men, you're discluding. How can you say you have accurate numbers if you're not including at least half of the population that
Right.
it applies to? So I got into a fight with somebody over Facebook about the whole Me Too movement and how it's sexist because we only tend to focus on one half of the problem. We don't focus on
Yeah. And also we don't focus on specifically vulnerable groups of people, like
Right.
disabled people,
like trans
or
people,
homeless people, trans people, LGBTQ people in general.
right, or gender fluid people or intersex people. We don't focus on, if we don't focus on everybody that it affects, we're doing a huge disservice to
Right.
the Time's Up and Me Too movements.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's
It doesn't just happen. It doesn't just happen to women
Right.
exactly.
And then
And
or specific
the
groups.
person
It doesn't
argued
just
with
happen to
me.
one group of people.
of
Let's put it that way.
women.
Yeah.
The person argued with me. They literally said to me, yeah, but this is about women.
No, it's
And
not.
I'm
It's about
like,
everyone.
no. And that's exactly what I said. It is like, it's about everybody. It's about anybody who has
Anybody
experienced,
can be assaulted. Anyone.
anybody who has experienced unwanted catcalls, anybody who has experienced unwanted advances in their workplace, anybody who has been sexually harassed in their workplace, and they're like, yeah, but how many times have you seen a man be catcalled?
Doesn't
A
make a
lot,
difference.
actually. It doesn't change anything.
Right.
Just because you don't always see it doesn't mean it's not there, and
Right.
it doesn't. And you do a huge disservice to the entire movement if you're discluding an entire bunch of people, because it doesn't just affect women, it affects everyone.
Right.
Nothing can change if you don't open the narrative and open your eyes that Me Too happens to everyone.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like, as you said, it's not about women. Like, it is about women, but if we say it's only about women, then we do a disservice to the Me Too movement.
Just occurred to me, would you consider a veggie an assault?
Me?
No, I'm saying is giving a veggie to someone.
Oh, giving a
I
wedgie to
would,
someone.
yeah.
I mean,
I personally would.
How would you take that, Crystal?
is
I
it
don't know what to say about that one.
unwanted? Is it unwanted? Does
Yeah,
it affect,
probably.
like, that hurts. If you've
Yeah.
ever had a wedgie, you know how much it hurts. Like, I would say yes, that would be included in it. As juvenile as it is,
You
Something
have
that
to help me out. I
a
don't
bully
know
would
what
do.
it is.
a wedgie is when you pull somebody's underwear right up, like,
Up,
their
yes.
ass crack. It hurts.
Ouch!
So,
Ouch!
yeah, I would say
I would say
that
so,
is
yeah.
included.
Yeah.
Is it juvenile? Yes, it is, but it's still unwanted. It still hurts. It still can be damaging. It's embarrassing, and that's all
Yeah,
part
that's
of
yeah.
what it's about.
So it really doesn't happen around here, and I only got to know about it through American movies and TV shows, and I was like, okay, why are these people making so much? I mean, enjoying it. Like, as a person who has not seen it, it just looks painful, embarrassing, and like I don't think anyone would ever want to get that done.
Yeah, no.
Done.
I don't think anybody would ever want to be given a
Yeah,
wedgie. Yes, exactly. That's something that
Yeah, it
bullies would
doesn't
do,
sound
and
that
so on.
yeah.
It's a form of, yeah, it's a form of,
It's a form
yeah,
of
harassment, but it's a form of
harassment.
power over another person.
That's what I was just going to
Yeah,
say. It's a form of showing that you have power over another person, and
right,
that's what sexual assault is about. It's about
right.
having power over somebody
Power over
else.
another. Yep, right.
yeah.
But is it like really true that this is the kind of fun that usually boys school or boys boarding school, like, is this the kind of culture they are exposed to?
Hmm.
Is what?
This kind of culture, is it really prevalent in boys school, like, or
I
is it
mean, I've
just
seen girls do it to boys. I don't think it's very prevalent in our culture anymore because most people think it's juvenile and it's something you would see as a child more so than an adult. But
Yeah,
I mean, nothing's impossible.
yeah, and I would
so really?
think.
Yeah,
Go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah.
no, no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, yeah, I would be considering, yeah, if you're reaching down and grabbing someone's underwear, then that, yeah, that to me would be a form of sexually harassing someone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or yeah,
So
if we're
I
gonna go
think
there, then
it's important that, yeah,
how about snapping a bra? I would consider that the same
yeah,
thing too.
that's,
Yes.
yeah,
That is more prevalent in society
Mm-hmm.
than a
Mm-hmm.
wedgie is.
Yeah.
I've had men randomly that I work with do that to me. Like not recently, but I have had men in the workplace snap my bra just because they think it's funny.
Yeah.
And I don't know about anybody else, but that hurts.
I would think so. Be like getting, yeah, yeah,
but these are the kind of things that school children, like, start doing, and then
Oh yeah.
yeah,
Girls in my high school, 9 times out of 10, you couldn't go a 5-day high school week without at least one person in your class getting their bra strap smacked against them or having a boy pull it and letting it go. It was very prevalent in my high school for a boy to do that. And when we would tell our teachers or the principal, it would be like, oh, just never mind it. It's just boys being boys.
yeah, no,
Well,
that's
no, we need
sad.
to be teaching our
yeah,
boys that that's not acceptable behavior. Why is it okay for a boy to sexually harass a girl in a high school and we're taught that this is okay?
yeah,
Or a boy uh, stuffing bugs down a girl's pants, and that's just boys being boys, or whatnot, or a girl being sent home from school because she chose to wear a tank top that day, and it's distracting for the boys. This is what I was trying to say when we first started
okay,
the video chat. We need to be teaching our boys that them ogling a girl is not okay. That a girl's body is her own. It's not to be put on display for their enjoyment. We sell sex like it's nothing, but we'll shit our pants if we see a woman in public breastfeeding their baby.
Yeah.
But you'll
That's
see half-naked women in ads on TV, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of a double standard. That's the word. Like, it's kind of like 180 degrees. It's like, on the one hand, you have like this totally crude behavior. On the other hand, you have this totally
Guys, I'm not here.
But we need to be teaching society that women's bodies are not, they're not just there for enjoyment. A woman breastfeeding her baby has a job to do. She's there to feed her children, and her babies being fed is a woman's main, that's the main job for a woman's body, is to feed her children. Not
So I guess as a
for the
society we are
enjoyment
more
of,
comfortable with breasts to be a sexual thing and not the thing it actually is meant for.
right, we need to be teaching society that we need to be changing our views in society. When did it become a society that puts more value on a woman and how she looks on an ad for clothing or on a beer ad or what have you,
I
then
have something to add. What is wrong when women go topless like on the beach and the man is going topless on the beach? What is fucking wrong? It's both human being and they both have breasts and they are like technically it's the same thing, but woman is like the breast is kind of grows a little more, so optical is like
I mean, in
optical,
Canada,
but seriously, what's the fucking point?
see, in Canada, we don't have that problem
Start-
because it's
I don't
actually
know, no.
legal. It's completely legal in Canada for women to go around topless just as it is a man. So we don't have that.
as well.
But
Oh.
that's not to say that a woman's not going to get ogled and told she should put her clothes on.